What if I told you there's a note so dangerous it can make or break an opera singer's entire career in 3 seconds flat? This isn't just any high note, this is the F6, a sound so high most people can't even whistle it, let alone sing it over a roaring orchestra. And tonight we're not just talking about any F6, we're dissecting the one sung by Sumi Jo with a terrifying perfection that silences rooms and defines legacies. This is the story of the deadliest note in opera, and the woman who mastered it. Welcome to Opera Brownn, and if you love deep dives into musical genius, subscribe now, because you are in for a treat. When most people think of the Queen of the Night, they picture an angry mom in a fabulous glittery gown, right? But that's actually missing a huge part of the picture. She's not just some operatic villain, she's opera's original, and arguably most terrifying helicopter parent, and her aria, Der hohe Reich, is the ultimate expression of her rage. This is the moment she threatens to disown, and quite literally incinerate, through a mother's curse, her own daughter Pamina, if she doesn't plunge a dagger into Sarastro's heart. The title itself, Hell's Vengeance Boils in My Heart, sets a chilling stage for the emotional maelstrom to come. This isn't just a pretty song, it's 2 minutes of unadulterated fury, a Baroque-style fireworks display of vocal acrobatics, all propelled by a vocal line that rockets up to that infamous high F6. This pitch isn't just high, it sits squarely in the whistle register, demanding an almost otherworldly control, and it still has to sound like a dagger made of pure sound, sharp enough to cut through the air, and the audience's very soul. Composers before Mozart certainly wrote high notes, but Mozart, with his uncanny genius, wrote high notes that seemed to defy the very laws of gravity and human physiology. The aria's vocal range is staggering, spanning 2 full octaves plus an additional tritone, pushing the soprano's capabilities to their absolute limits. The coloratura passages, those intricate, rapid-fire melodic flourishes, are packed with demi-semiquavers, notes so fast they barely register individually, demanding impossible agility and rhythmic precision. And the tempo marking? Allegro assai, which, in plain English, basically means as fast as humanly possible without turning into a chipmunk. Is it any wonder singers affectionately or perhaps fearfully call this the Queen of Frights? It's a true vocal marathon, a test of endurance and artistry that separates the good from the legendary. So how does one person not just survive this but make it sound easy? Let's really put that F6 into perspective for a moment. If you were to find it on a piano, it's the very top F, sitting 4 ledger lines above the treble staff. It's a pitch so high that most humans can only whistle it. But here's the rub: whistling doesn't require you to project your sound over a full, roaring Mozart orchestra in a 2,000-seat opera house. To hit that note in a live performance, a soprano has to perform an astonishing feat of vocal gymnastics. They have to thin their vocal folds to an almost unimaginable degree, practically the width of a silk thread, while simultaneously sending breath pressure up from their diaphragm like a focused fire hose. And even then, the challenge isn't over. They still need to precisely shape the vowel I so that the word Hala, hell, remains perfectly intelligible, resonant, and crucially menacing. One tiny wobble, 1 fraction of an inch off, and it's either a pathetic squeak or a piercing scream. The margin for error is non-existent. The F6 is particularly challenging because it resides in what vocal scientists call the whistle register, sometimes also referred to as the flageolet or flute register. This is the highest phonational register of the human voice, distinct from both modal voice, our speaking voice, and falsetto. In this register, only the very outer edges of the vocal folds vibrate, or sometimes just the posterior portion, creating a tense glottal configuration and a narrow slit through which air flows. It's a specialized technique that allows singers to reach extraordinary flute-like pitches, often above D6 or E6 for most singers. Legend has it that when Mozart first played the aria for his sister-in-law, Josepha Hofer, who was the original Queen of the Night, and a renowned coloratura soprano in her own right, she looked at the score, probably with wide eyes, and famously asked, "Wolfgang, are you trying to kill me?" His response, delivered with a twinkle in his eye, was equally legendary. "No, but the audience should think I might." Hofer, who was 32 at the time of the 1791 premiere of The Magic Flute, was known for her extraordinary upper register and agile voice. And Mozart wrote the aria specifically to showcase her unique talents, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible for the human voice. Ever since, the F6 in Der hohe Reich has stood as the Mount Everest of opera, a tiny, treacherous summit, where the air is thin, the climb is grueling, and the fall can be devastating. Sumi Jo didn't just climb Everest, she built a luxurious cafe at the summit serving perfectly brewed espresso. Born Jo Soo-jong in Changwon, South Korea, her destiny in music seemed almost preordained by her mother. Her mother, an amateur singer and pianist whose own musical dreams were thwarted by the political turmoil of 1950s Korea, was fiercely determined to provide her daughter with opportunities she never had. Sumi Jo began piano lessons at the tender age of 4 and vocal lessons at 6, often spending up to 8 hours a day studying music under her mother's strict, almost militaristic tutelage. Jo herself recounts her mother locking the door from the outside to prevent her from playing truant, a testament to the intense discipline that shaped her early years. Initially, while studying at Seoul National University, and later at the Conservatorio Santa Cecilia in Rome, Jo even considered herself a mezzo-soprano. However, her Italian professors quickly recognized the astonishing agility and range that would define her as a lyric coloratura soprano. She then went on to study with legendary figures like Carlo Bergonzi and Gianella Borelli, honing her craft. It was during this period that she adopted the stage name Sumi to make it more accessible for European audiences. Her big break came when she caught the attention of the legendary conductor Herbert von Karajan. He famously declared, "You have the voice of a laser, never apologize for its precision." Jo recalls her first meeting with Karajan, a man whose photograph had adorned her childhood room, making him feel like an old acquaintance rather than an intimidating maestro. She wasn't nervous at all, even touching his white hair, feeling as if she were meeting a long-lost relative. That kind of fearless confidence, coupled with immense talent, is rare. Sumi Jo made her Salzburg Festival debut at 25, sang the Queen at the Bastille Opera at 28, and by the mid-1990s critics were falling over themselves to praise her. They called her the coloratura who colors inside the lines so perfectly the lines disappear. Her secret weapon isn't really a secret at all. It's an unwavering dedication to breath control that allows her to float a pianissimo high F, so delicate it seems to hang suspended in air, and then, in the very next moment, snap out a staccato run with the explosive precision of a string of firecrackers. When asked about her seemingly effortless mastery in interviews, she shrugs, almost casually. "I just practice until the aria feels boring, then I know it's ready." If that sounds almost too laid back, remember that this is also the woman who runs 5 miles a day and rehearses in a bustling park, singing over the din of traffic. Her rationale? If you can float an F6 over a Seoul bus, you can certainly float it over a pit full of flutes. Her early years in Italy, far from home and struggling with a new language and culture, were marked by loneliness and financial hardship, even collapsing from malnutrition at one point. These struggles undoubtedly forged an inner steel that underpins her seemingly effortless artistry. But how does this technical assassin with the voice of a laser actually pull it off? We're about to dissect her performance note by terrifying note. Let's take a deep breath and walk through the minefield of Der Hohle Reich, bar by excruciating bar, through the lens of a Sumi Jo performance. The aria kicks off with 8 measures of orchestral tremolo. It's not just background noise, it feels like the Queen herself is cracking her knuckles, or maybe a storm is brewing on the horizon, just waiting to unleash its fury. Sumi Jo makes her entrance on a low G, and this is already a statement. Most sopranos might sound a little wary, perhaps even tentative down in that lower register, navigating it carefully before ascending to the stratosphere. But Jo? She sounds like she owns the basement too, asserting her presence with a rich, dark tone that leaves no doubt about the Queen's authority, even before the fireworks begin. The dramatic weight is there from the very first note. Then comes the first ascending run, a dizzying flurry of 16 notes, all delivered in a single, impossibly controlled breath, culminating on a high D. What sets her apart here is her meticulous articulation. She separates each note with a crisp, almost imperceptible ha articulation, making sure you hear every single pearl in that necklace of sound. It's not a blur, it's a perfectly defined cascade, each note distinct and intentional, building anticipation for what's to come. This precision is vital for creating the sense of dangerously, furiously precise character that the Queen embodies. Next we encounter the core curse motif Der Hohle Reich kocht in meinem Herzen, Hell's vengeance boils in my heart. Here, Sumi Jo masterfully darkens the vowel slightly, allowing the coloratura to splatter across the musical canvas like hot oil. It's technically perfect, yes, but it's still dangerous. She captures the visceral rage, the boiling fury of the text without sacrificing a shred of vocal control. It's a chilling blend of pristine technique and raw, seething emotion, perfectly embodying the Queen's character as a histrionic narcissistic bully. The emotional wavelength is palpable. Now for the first high F6, instead of simply crescendoing into it, which would be the more conventional, maybe easier approach, Sumi Jo does something truly remarkable. She backs off, almost pulls back her sound, creating a palpable vacuum of tension just before the note hits. This subtle withdrawal makes the high note, when it finally explodes into the auditorium, feel utterly inevitable, yet shockingly sudden. The effect is like a camera flash in a pitch-black room, The image is seared into your retina, lingering long after the light itself has vanished. It's a moment of pure, calculated theatricality, executed with vocal genius. As the aria progresses into its second verse, the tempo picks up and the orchestra adds brass, intensifying the musical texture. To ensure her voice isn't swallowed by the increased orchestral power, Sumi Jo subtly narrows her vibrato. This isn't just a technical adjustment, it's a dramatic choice. Her tone becomes a laser-sharp beam, slicing straight through the brass shimmer, cutting through the dense orchestration to ensure every syllable, every nuance of the Queen's renewed threat is heard with piercing clarity. And then, the grand finale, the final F6. Sumi Jo sustains it for a full 2 beats, a testament to her extraordinary breath control and unwavering support. It hangs in the air, a bell-like tone of pure, unadulterated power. Then she attacks the descending run that follows with such evenness and precision that it sounds like a single, exquisitely crafted note tumbling down a marble staircase. The audience's applause usually detonates right at this point, a spontaneous eruption of awe. But if you watch closely, Sumi Jo never breaks character. She's still the queen, still furious, still in absolute, chilling control. It's a performance that leaves you questioning how such a powerful and precise sound can come from a human being. Vocal coaches often joke that there are 3 ways to hit a whistle register note. You can squeeze it out, you can desperately hope for the best, or you can trust your appoggio, that beautiful Italian term for leaning the breath. Sumi Jo unequivocally uses option number 3, but with a mastery that few can emulate. Her technique is a marvel of physiological efficiency. She locks her breath support deep and low in her ribs, creating an incredibly stable foundation. This isn't about pushing air, it's about managing a constant focused stream of air pressure, a laser-focused breath. She narrows the vowel just enough to maintain what's called a formant, keeping the resonance sweet and clear without becoming shrill. Think of shaping the I vowel a little closer to an IH sound, which helps the voice maintain its bright forward placement in the upper register. Crucially, her larynx rises only microscopically, avoiding the tension and constriction that can choke off high notes. The result is a tone that is bell-like in its purity, utterly devoid of any shrillness or forced quality. It's a sound that seems to emanate from another realm. She also, in a way, cheats physics. She begins the vowel for the F6 slightly more forward in her vocal tract than most other singers. This tiny, almost imperceptible adjustment is a stroke of genius. It keeps the harmonic spectrum bright and shimmering, ensuring that the F6 feels like pure sunlight, radiant and expansive, rather than a piercing shard of glass. Critics sometimes, perhaps paradoxically, complain that her queen sounds too beautiful for a vengeful sorceress. But that's precisely the paradox, isn't it? The queen's power, her menace, becomes infinitely scarier, more insidious, when it's wrapped in such seductive, pristine beauty. Sumi Jo doesn't just sing the notes, she weaponizes beauty itself, making the queen's threats all the more chilling because they come from such an exquisite source. Her ability to maintain clarity and power without strain at such extreme heights is what makes her interpretation so iconic. While Sumi Jo's Queen is undeniably a benchmark, it's also true that the operatic world is rich with diverse, legendary interpretations of this fearsome role. Each soprano brings her unique vocal fingerprint and dramatic insight to Der Hohle Rache, making comparisons less about better and more about differently terrifying. Take Diana Damrau, for instance. Her performances of the aria are renowned for their fiery diction and athletic punch. She attacks the text with an almost physical intensity, her eyes practically spitting sparks, embodying the queen's rage with every fiber of her being. Damrau's vocal control allows her to articulate every syllable with crystal-clear precision, even amidst the most rapid coloratura, making the emotional impact immediate and visceral. She is so versatile, in fact, that she has famously sung both the roles of Pamina and the Queen of the Night in the same production run, a feat almost unheard of. Then there's Kathleen Battle, whose queen was all crystal and sparkle. Her voice had an ethereal, almost angelic quality, like a chandelier caught in the tremors of an earthquake. Beautiful, but with an underlying fragility that hinted at the queen's desperate, crumbling power. Her interpretation often highlighted the lament beneath the rage, the sorrow of a mother losing her daughter to a rival philosophy. And Edita Gruberova? She brought a steely Slavic edge to the role, a vocal quality that could slice through granite or perhaps slice bread with frightening efficiency. Her precision was legendary, her staccatos like perfectly aimed bullets, conveying a relentless, unyielding fury that was almost machine-like in its execution. She was the embodiment of cold, calculated vengeance. Sumi Jo's version, though, sits in a unique space, somewhere between a perfectly cut diamond and a precisely calibrated laser beam, Every edge of her sound is faceted, every beam aimed with unerring accuracy. Where Damrau acts the anger, making it demonstrative and outwardly explosive, Jo often embodies the menace in her timbre alone, a subtle chilling undercurrent that suggests a deeper, more pervasive evil. Where battle floated, almost dancing through the high notes, Jo propels, driving the sound forward with an unstoppable force. And where Gruberova slashed and cut with her vocal attacks, Jo incises, making precise, surgical strikes. It's not necessarily better than these other titans, it's simply differently terrifying, a nuanced portrayal that reveals new facets of the Queen's complex character. And because her legato, her seamless connection of notes, is so exquisitely smooth, the contrast when she suddenly snaps into a staccato passage feels like a guillotine. Calm, then sudden, then head gone. It's a jolt to the system, a deliberate shock that underscores the Queen's unpredictable, volatile nature. You might think that such a flawless performance is born of sheer talent alone, but behind Sumi Jo's effortless F6 lies a rigorous, even quirky preparation routine. Here's a little backstage nugget for you. Before every performance as the Queen, Sumi Jo warms up by singing the entire aria transposed down a minor third, then immediately up a semitone, all on nonsense syllables. She calls this meticulous process checking the hinges. It's her way of ensuring every muscle, every vocal nuance is limber and ready for the impossible demands of Mozart's score, making sure the hinges of her voice are perfectly oiled and aligned. She also has a highly personalized, almost ritualistic approach to her score. She meticulously marks it with two distinct colors: red for all her breath cues, where to snatch a quick, imperceptible gasp of air, where to conserve, where to push. Blue, on the other hand, is reserved for emotional pivot points, moments where the Queen's rage shifts, where despair creeps in, or where a new layer of menace must be conveyed. And the final F6? That monumental note is circled in gold Sharpie, a visual declaration of its importance. Why gold? Because, she says, you have to honor the money note or it won't pay you back. It's a nod to the immense pressure and significance attached to that singular defining moment in the aria. There's even a story from a performance in Berlin where the prompter, the unsung hero whispering lines from a hidden box, missed a cue. Sumi Jo, with her astonishing reflexes and innate musicality, didn't falter. She kept going, instinctively singing the run a half-step sharp for a fleeting moment, then seamlessly slid back into the correct center pitch without the conductor, or most of the audience, even noticing. The reviews the next morning were ecstatic, calling it the most perfectly in-tune Queen of the decade. She never told anyone it was an accident, she just smiled and quipped, "Mozart forgives." It's a testament to her incredible stage presence and quick thinking, reminding us that even perfection can have its almost unseen moments of improvisation and recovery. But the F6 isn't just a party trick for opera nerds, its influence reaches far beyond the stage. The F6 in Der Holle Reich isn't just a high note. Outside the hallowed halls of the opera house, it's become a fascinating cultural litmus test, a point of intersection for diverse fields. Scientists, for instance, are captivated by it. They use performances of this aria to study the extreme mechanics of vocal fold vibration, trying to understand how the human larynx can produce such incredibly high frequencies with such power and clarity. The whistle register in particular remains one of the least understood vocal phenomena, making the F6 a prime subject for research into upper register stability and vocal acoustics. Speech therapists too analyze this iconic note to gain insights into how the vocal apparatus functions at its absolute limits, hoping to apply that knowledge to help individuals with voice disorders. Even pop vocal coaches, looking to expand the capabilities of their students, frequently reference the F6 when training whistle-tone belters like Mariah Carey. The vocal mechanisms, though applied in different musical styles, share fundamental physiological principles. The aria's impact extends far beyond academic and technical circles. When Sumi Jo hit that F6 note during the opening gala of the 1994 FIFA World Cup, broadcast globally, Korean TV ratings spiked an astonishing 12%. It was a moment of national pride and musical revelation. A generation of kids glued to their television screens went home that day and tried to squeak out their own high notes on toy recorders, or even just by whistling. Some of those kids, inspired by that singular, perfectly landed note, went on to become professional musicians, flutists, singers, composers. That's the profound, far-reaching butterfly effect of one perfectly executed F6. It doesn't just bring an aria to a thrilling conclusion. It can, quite literally, launch lives and spark a lifelong passion for music in unexpected places. It's a testament to the power of a single moment of artistic brilliance to ripple through culture and inspire generations. Sumi Jo's Queen of the Night isn't just a performance, it's the benchmark because she unequivocally proves that technical perfection and profound dramatic truth aren't rivals locked in a struggle for dominance. Instead, they're perfectly harmonious roommates, and when they truly get along, when they combine their strengths, the roof doesn't just get raised. It lifts clean off the theater, leaving everyone in awe. If you're ready to hear that roof-lifting moment for yourself, and I highly recommend you are, then you absolutely need to check out her legendary 1995 Salzburg recording. You can find it on pretty much any streaming platform. Just put on some really good headphones, set the volume to neighbors will definitely complain, but it's worth it, and then, crucially, wait for the 1 minute and 47-second mark. Seriously, go add it to your playlist right now. If you want more recommendations like this, make sure you're subscribed to Opera Brownn. Alright, let's tackle some of the most common questions about Sumi Jo and that legendary F6. So, first up, does she ever crack the F6 live? Well, not on any official public recording, which is pretty incredible, right? However, opera aficionados and diligent bootleg collectors have reportedly identified one instance during a 1997 Vienna performance where she subtly shortened the sustain of the note by about half a beat. It was still perfectly in tune, still pristine, just a fraction quicker than her usual impossibly long hold. Even in that rare moment, her control was absolute. Moving on. How many queens has she sung throughout her career? The numbers are truly staggering. Sumi Jo has graced the stage as the Queen of the Night in over 180 productions. That's more than any other soprano in the last 40 years, a testament to her incredible vocal stamina, unwavering consistency, and enduring appeal in this demanding role. It's a legacy of commitment to a character that pushes every boundary. Next question. Is the F6 actually required by Mozart, or is it an optional flourish? Oh, it's absolutely required. Mozart, with his profound understanding of the human voice and dramatic effect, wrote that F6 into the score. It's an integral part of the Aria's emotional and musical architecture, the climax of the Queen's rage. While modern directors or, less experienced singers might occasionally attempt to transpose the note down for practical reasons, purists and most opera lovers, frankly, tend to boo quite literally. To them, altering that F6 is akin to rewriting history. Here's another one. Could a mezzo-soprano ever sing it? Only if she genuinely enjoys sounding like a blender full of gravel, to put it mildly. A mezzo-soprano's voice is inherently richer, darker and heavier than a coloratura soprano's. While mezzos possess incredible power and range in their own registers, attempting an F6 would push their vocal folds beyond their natural, healthy limits. The necessary thinning and agility required for that whistle register note are simply not characteristic of a mezzo's vocal production, resulting in a strained, often unpleasant sound that lacks the required clarity and brilliance. And finally, what's harder, the F6 or the Queen's low G3? This is a fantastic question and one that often sparks debate among singers and vocal coaches. Surprisingly, many would argue that the low G3 is actually the more challenging note. Why? Because the F6, while stratospheric, is the culmination of an upward trajectory, a moment of release into the highest register. The low G3, however, demands something entirely different. The soprano has to descend from those stratospheric heights to a pitch that still needs to sound lethal, menacing, and full of authority, not like a gentle lullaby. Maintaining that dramatic intensity and vocal weight in the lower register, immediately after such extreme high notes, requires a different kind of support, resonance, and emotional control. It's a testament to the Queen's character that she can command both the heavens and the depths of hell with equal power. It's easy to imagine someone who can deliver such an impossibly perfect F6 as a kind of superhuman, untouchable figure. But off-stage, Sumi Jo is famously, almost disarmingly, goofy. She's not just an opera diva, she's a delightful personality who posts charming cooking videos online, often singing intricate coloratura passages while expertly flipping kimchi pancakes. She even named her beloved dog Farfalle because, she explains, the puppy's ears reminded her of the delicate butterfly pasta. When students, awestruck by her mastery, ask her how to conquer stage fright and those crippling pre-performance nerves, her advice is wonderfully unconventional and deeply human. Imagine the entire audience in their underwear, then sing one note sharper than their embarrassment. It's a brilliant psychological trick, designed to demystify the audience and shift the focus from fear to playful defiance. This is the woman who can seemingly atomize glass with a high F, yet she still gets stage fright before a major performance. She still cries at sad movies just like the rest of us, And she still FaceTimes her mom after every single show seeking that familiar connection and reassurance. That profound, relatable humanity is precisely why her portrayal of the Queen of the Night feels so compelling and resonant. In her hands, the Queen isn't just a one-dimensional cartoon villain. She feels like your own mom on her absolute worst day, amplified by sheer magical talent and of course a very good microphone. It's this blend of the extraordinary and the utterly ordinary that makes Sumi Jo such an enduring and beloved figure in the world of opera. For aspiring coloraturas and vocal enthusiasts, Sumi Jo's approach offers a treasure trove of insights. Here are a few invaluable lessons we can glean from her remarkable toolkit. First, breath pacing, the uphill marathon. She emphasizes breath pacing, not just breath capacity. Her advice? Practice the aria while walking uphill. If you can maintain a smooth, unbroken vocal line and consistent breath support during that physical exertion, then the stage, by comparison, will feel entirely flat. It's about building a deep, resilient connection between your body and your breath, ensuring an unwavering foundation for even the most demanding passages. Second, vowel modification, the bright sweet spot. For those stratospheric notes above high C, Sumi Jo advocates for subtle vowel modification. Instead of pinching the I vowel, which can lead to shrillness, she suggests singing it closer to an IH sound. This tiny adjustment helps keep the resonance bright and forward, preventing the tone from becoming thin or strident, and ensuring that bell-like clarity even at extreme pitches. Third, mental staging shapes, not just notes. To navigate those dizzyingly fast coloratura runs, she advises singers to picture each run as a shape, not just a chaotic string of individual notes. Imagine a triangle for ascending passages, or a graceful spiral for descending ones. This mental imagery helps to engage muscle memory more effectively, allowing the body to execute the complex patterns with fluidity and ease, rather than getting bogged down in the clutter of individual pitches. It transforms a daunting technical challenge into an intuitive physical gesture. Fourth, recovery plan, a hair sharper. If, in the middle of a performance, an F6 or another high note feels tight, or you sense it might be slipping flat, her counterintuitive advice is to aim a hair sharper. Often the tension or slight miscalculation that causes a note to go flat can be compensated for by that slight upward adjustment. The tension in the vocal folds often lands you perfectly in tune anyway, effectively saving the note. It's a testament to the split-second decision-making required at this level. And finally, dramatic cheat, the microscopic smile. For the most furious, dramatic lines of the aria, Sumi Jo suggests a subtle, almost microscopic smile. This isn't about being happy, it's a physiological trick. A slight smile helps to lift the soft palate, which is crucial for maintaining open resonance and avoiding a constricted sound. Moreover, audiences unconsciously read it as an undeniable sign of confidence and control, making the Queen's rage even more terrifying when delivered with such serene command. It's a brilliant blend of vocal technique and stagecraft where a subtle physical cue enhances both the sound and the dramatic impact. Sumi Jo's impact isn't confined to the opera stage. It creates a profound ripple effect that extends across cultural, educational, and even economic spheres. After her landmark debut as the Queen of the Night at the Metropolitan Opera in 2002, the company reported a remarkable 35% uptick in ticket sales for any subsequent revival of the Magic Flute. This wasn't just a fleeting moment of success, it was a clear demonstration of her power to draw new audiences to opera, transforming a single performance into a significant commercial and artistic event.
Her influence reaches a global digital audience. Masterclasses and performance excerpts featuring Sumi Jo on YouTube consistently average an astonishing 1.8 million views, a figure that far surpasses any other aria excerpt by a living soprano. She's become a digital educator, her performances serving as a virtual textbook for aspiring singers worldwide, dissecting her technique and inspiring countless others. In her home country, South Korea, her legacy is even more deeply embedded. Universities have created entire courses dedicated to coloratura technique, using her recordings as primary pedagogical texts. Her artistry isn't just admired, it's systematically studied and emulated. In essence, one singer's 3-second F6 became an export as culturally and economically valuable as K-pop, kimchi, and Hyundai. The key difference? It needs no shipping container, no complex logistics, just a willing pair of lungs, a dedicated spirit, and a connection to the universal language of music. Her voice has become a symbol of Korean artistic excellence on the global stage, demonstrating that profound artistry can transcend national borders and cultural divides. The challenge to future queens. Every new soprano who dares to step into the glittering, starry crown of the Queen of the Night now faces an invisible yardstick. It's a measurement not just in kilohertz, but in nerve endings, in emotional depth, and in sheer, unadulterated stage presence. They must grapple with a monumental question. Can you make the F6 feel truly inevitable? As if it simply had to happen, rather than merely attainable, a note that was just barely scraped by? Sumi Jo didn't just set that bar, she launched it into the stratosphere. Until someone can sustain that note for an even longer duration while maintaining that ethereal, spun silver tone, until they can launch into the next lightning-fast run without a single audible gasp for breath. And until they can still look like they'd happily murder Sarastro and half the string section with a chilling smile, her queen will remain the North Star. It's the constant, guiding light for aspiring coloraturists, a beacon of what's possible. They practice in front of their mirrors, perhaps with a post-it note stuck to the glass, emblazoned with a simple, yet profound question: what would Sumi do? And the answer, invariably, involves more breath, more bite, and an almost overwhelming sense of joy in the sheer act of making such impossible beauty manifest. Her legacy is one of continuous inspiration, pushing the boundaries of what the human voice can achieve and what dramatic truth can convey. So, do you think another soprano tops Sumi Jo's Queen of the Night? I'm genuinely curious. Drop their name and a timestamp of their most electrifying moment in the comments below. Let's start a friendly war of who's the most terrifyingly dazzling. I'm ready for your best arguments.
The unsung heroes behind her success. No queen, no matter how formidable, conquers alone. Behind every flawlessly executed F6 and every chillingly precise staccato, there's a dedicated army of unsung heroes working tirelessly backstage. Sumi Jo is quick to credit these crucial collaborators. She often speaks of her longtime vocal coach, David Harper, who employed a truly unconventional method, drilling the aria in reverse. Yes, backwards. This wasn't just a quirky exercise. It was a deliberate strategy to build circular, rather than linear, muscle memory. By mastering the aria from its conclusion back to its beginning, the vocal muscles learn to anticipate and connect phrases in a way that feels utterly organic and seamless, eliminating any sense of struggle or individual note-by-note effort. Then there's her costume designer, who understood that even the visual elements contribute to the overall impact. This ingenious individual once added micro-weights into the hem of her elaborate gown. The purpose? So that the fabric would snap and emphasize her movements precisely on the high notes, visually amplifying the staccato attacks and adding another layer of dramatic punch to her performance. It's a subtle but powerful enhancement, transforming the visual into an auditory reinforcement. Even her makeup artist plays a role in creating the Queen's iconic menace. By subtly darkening the outer corner of each eye by just 1 millimeter, they create an optical illusion of larger whites, making the Queen's glare appear impossibly intense, almost superhuman. It's a small detail, but it contributes significantly to the character's formidable presence. These examples underscore a fundamental truth in the world of opera. Great opera isn't a solo act. It's a meticulously coordinated team sport, albeit one wearing sequins and elaborate wigs. From the stage managers calling cues to the lighting designers shaping the mood, the prop masters, and the wardrobe team, every single person behind the scenes contributes to the magic that unfolds on stage. It's a symphony of collaboration, ensuring that the Queen's vengeance and Sumi Jo's artistry shine without a single hitch. Myth-busting the F6. Let's dispel some common misconceptions about that legendary F6 and the art of coloratura singing. Myth: only big lungs need apply for such high notes. Truth: while a healthy respiratory system is certainly helpful, lung capacity actually matters far less than breath compression and control. Sumi Jo exemplifies this. Her technique isn't about filling her lungs to bursting. It's about maintaining a stable, expanded ribcage while the breath exits in a focused, controlled stream, much like air leaving a balloon that's being squeezed at the neck. It's the precise, sustained pressure, not the sheer volume of air, that allows for such high, powerful notes. Myth: you must be born with a whistle register. It's an innate gift. Truth: while some individuals may have a natural predisposition, the whistle register is primarily a shape, not an unchangeable gift. It's a specific configuration of the vocal folds and the vocal tract that can, with diligent training and expert guidance, be developed. Most coloraturas can train their voices to access this register, but very few dare to stage it in public performance due to the immense technical demands and the razor-thin margin for error. It requires an extraordinary level of control and confidence that goes beyond mere physical capability. Myth: the F6 gets easier with age, as the vocal folds naturally thin. Truth: this is a subtle but important distinction. While vocal folds do naturally thin with age, which can make accessing higher pitches feel less effortful in some ways, it doesn't necessarily make the F6 easier to control or sustain. In fact, older sopranos often have to rely more heavily on their sophisticated breath support and precise vocal technique to compensate for any loss of elasticity or stamina. Sumi Joe's version of the F6 at 55 is, remarkably, often even more laser-like and controlled than it was at 35. This isn't because it got easier, but because she learned to subtract effort, to refine her technique, and to rely on absolute efficiency rather than brute force. It's a testament to lifelong learning and vocal mastery. The queen in pop culture. The iconic Der Hölle Rache and its notorious F6 have transcended the opera house, permeating popular culture in ways Mozart could never have imagined. It has soundtracked everything from a hilarious spoof on The Simpsons to a high-fashion Gucci perfume advertisement. Each time, the request from producers is usually something along the lines of, "We need the F6, but make it fashion," or "Give us instant villainy, but make it classy." It's a recognizable sonic shorthand. Sumi Joe's own recording of the aria was famously licensed for a 2019 video game trailer. In the trailer, the sheer power of the Queen's note is depicted as literally shattering a massive cathedral window. A stunning piece of CGI, of course, but the sound itself, the voice that conveys such destructive force, is 100% hers. When filmmakers and advertisers need to instantly convey a sense of sophisticated villainy, impending doom, or high-stakes drama, they often drop in that instantly recognizable arpeggio. It's become a cultural shorthand for somebody's about to lose a kingdom, or perhaps more relatably, someone's about to lose a very intense bedtime battle. The aria's dramatic intensity and technical brilliance make it a versatile tool for evoking powerful emotions across various media. The psychology of listening to perfection. Why do we, as listeners, find ourselves watching a 3-minute aria like Der Hölle Rache on a loop, hitting replay again and again? Neuroscientists have a term for this phenomenon, the thrill-chill loop. It's a fascinating interplay between anticipation and resolution. The rapid, intricate runs of the coloratura create what's known as prediction error in our brains, a delightful confusion, a challenge to our auditory expectations. Then the high F6 hits, resolving that tension with a burst of unexpected clarity and perfection. This resolution triggers a flood of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, making us feel good, even exhilarated. And then we repeat the loop, chasing that dopamine hit once more. Sumi Joe's version maximizes this loop because her tone is so incredibly pure. It lacks the noisy overtones or slight imperfections that might signal danger or screech to our primal brains. Instead, the brain processes her F6 as a supernormal stimulus, a sound cleaner more perfect than nature can typically produce. It's almost idealized. This is why we hit replay like lab rats pressing a lever for a reward. The only side effect? A delicious cascade of goosebumps, a profound sense of awe, And perhaps staying up a little too late scrolling through YouTube comments, trying to articulate the ineffable magic you just experienced. It's a testament to the profound power of art to tap into our deepest neurological reward systems. The final takeaway. Ultimately, Sumi Joe's definitive portrayal of the Queen of the Night teaches us a profound lesson about artistry. The most frightening, the most powerful things in art aren't sloppy, chaotic, or uncontrolled. On the contrary, they are immaculate, precise, and utterly controlled. When terror arrives wrapped in a crystal-clear, exquisitely beautiful package, we simply can't look away. It becomes compelling, mesmerizing, and deeply unsettling all at once. That's precisely why her F6 doesn't merely conclude the aria. In that suspended moment, it transcends its musical function. It suspends time itself, stretching 3 seconds into an eternity. It suspends doubt, convincing us of the impossible. And most powerfully, it suspends the Queen herself, a figure of vengeance and despair, in a moment where her fury feels as inevitable, as inescapable, as gravity itself. And then, the final cadence lands, the curtain falls, and we're left blinking in the dark, wondering how 3 seconds of sound could possibly feel like forever. It's a testament to the enduring power of a singular artistic achievement to leave an indelible mark on our consciousness. So, next time you hear someone casually dismiss opera as dull or outdated, you know exactly what to do. Don't argue, don't lecture, just play them Sumi Joe's Der Hölle Rache. When that F6 hits, watch their face. Watch it go from skeptical indifference to wide-eyed wonder, from bored disinterest to absolute, undeniable conversion, all in real time. And if you're the one who still needs that playlist link, don't worry, it's right there in the description. Be sure to subscribe to Opera Brownn for more deep dives into those extraordinary moments where music transcends sound and becomes pure magic. And please, share your own first time hearing the F6 story in the comments below. Because nothing bonds strangers quite like confessing you screamed in a public library because of an opera singer. See you at the next curtain call.